Welcome to A Double
Double
and Dice
with your host Kim.
and Jocelyn.
Pour your favorite beverage
Pull up a comfy chair.
because we are ready to roll. Time,
Space.
reality.
It's more than a linear path
It's a prison of endless possibilities.
where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities.
Creating alternate worlds from the ones you know.
We are the Watchers.
We are your guides through these vast new realities.
Follow us and ponder the question.
What if?
Dice Masters didn't release more product. Hey Jocelyn, you know that fun game of ours, Dice Masters?
Yeah, I love that game.
I know, right? Did you know that they're not releasing any more product?
Really?
Yeah, no new product ever.
Okay, ever?
Like ever.
Did they say that? Did they say Dice Masters is never releasing any more product trademarked forever? Written in blood and stone?
I don't know about blood and stone, but sure.
Is that the word on the street? No more new product?
No more new product.
You know, that's a real shame because with that redesign with Secret Wars, I really felt like there was a lot they could have done with it.
I know. I thought the whole thing would have been like blown, what's the saying? Blown out of the water? Blown out of the
water?
blown
Blown
out of the
apart?
water?
Blown
Yeah.
up?
Yeah, because the redesign was pretty awesome.
The cards look amazing. They look so modern compared to what we started with. And just very, I don't know, I want to say professional looking. Not that the old cards weren't professional looking.
They were outdated a bit.
They were outdated. And I didn't
Yes.
realize how outdated they were until I saw the new design.
Yep.
So,
and then if you
that
ever
was-
seen other cards too, like other games,
yeah,
how they are very updated, vibrant, you know what I mean? Modern, as you say. But yeah.
yeah, definitely modern and contemporary looking. And they, got to bring in characters we'd never seen before, like the Invisible Woman.
She's invisible,
She's invisible. But no, there was like some cool synergies in the set. There was a lot of cool support pieces and some cool win conditions, and the cards looked cool. Like I'm really surprised that they didn't use that as like a whole relaunching point. So
Nope,
that's it.
that's
It's
it.
over.
Yeah, it's over. They just, wowed us and doubt us. I don't know.
I don't know. 10 years in, and they're just giving it up with us. All these. I mean, we've got all these hardcore fans. We know them, right? Because they're online.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We see them online. They're playing online. There's tournaments happening online. But I guess, with last year, all they ran was the Worlds event at Gen Con, and like so late the announcement of that came out that so many people couldn't even attend. We couldn't even fill out the 16 people.
No.
So I mean, we did 14, but still, well, it's a real shame because Dice Masters is such a cool game, and there's so much they could do with it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different things that could be done with it, but I guess, I mean,
So what do we do?
I guess we can still play it.
We can still play it
because we have thousands of cards, right?
I believe we're in the thousands. I could give you an exact number if you like.
Please do. Please tell me exactly.
How about 4,079?
That's a lot of cards.
That is a lot of cards.
There's a lot of cards. There's a lot of combinations that we could make out of that.
Yes. New and exciting.
And I guess if there's nothing new coming, then that will give us the opportunity to go back through the old stuff and see just how bad cards were written back in the day compared to now.
Yeah.
And find the combos and figure out how it works. I still can't believe they're not making any more product, Kim. They just started answering rules questions on the rules forum.
Yep.
They released a comprehensive rules book. It doesn't feel like a game that is ending. But
yeah, I guess if you want to put it that way, that if a new product doesn't come out at all anymore, the game is ending. But there's only one thing that can keep it going.
And what's that?
The community.
Fair. Fair. So what
Dust
are you
off those
talking?
boxes. I feel like I'm going to break into a song.
um, are you talking about like community created product?
Possibly.
Or are you just talking about playing with the stuff we have?
Possibly. Maybe a little bit of that, a little bit of that.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little
Yep.
bit of put it all together in the big cauldron and we say bubble, bubble, toil and trouble,
I
fire
mean, we
burn
have
and dice masters bubble.
okay. But we have a lot of, great content creators out there. And we also have a lot of people who've actually already created their own sets.
This is true. We've seen fan made sets
Yep.
before.
Yep. I can't write a card to save my life. I tried to do one, by myself writing, but I can make up a card, but I can't write a card. But there
Interesting.
is a lot of talent out there
There
that
is.
could keep this game going based on just community actually creating new, as I put that up in quotes,
Yeah.
product.
So all puns aside, Kim.
Mm-hmm.
All Shakespeare aside and
Mm-hmm.
all phrases that we couldn't remember what we were trying to say about aside. We don't know if Dice Masters is ending.
We do not.
Hence the what if version of this episode. But I think the message that we're trying to get across here is that if there was not new product, the game could continue in a couple of different forms, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the first one would be we have over 4,000 cards with dice that are available. With that said, it's not perhaps easily attainable for some
Right.
people because
Yep.
it's harder to get new players into the game when there isn't product for them to buy.
Correct.
However, there are, people that are offloading collections. There are people that have extra products to share out with people that are interested, those types of things. But it is not easily available. However, those of us that play this game, love this game, and have boxes of this game in their basement or closet
Tons.
or whatever, we still have the ability to play this game. And I can't imagine that there are not combos we haven't found yet.
Yeah.
With 4,000 cards, right? So I'm sure this is going to shock everybody. Are you ready for this, Kim?
I'm ready.
Sitting down?
I'm ready to be shocked.
When something rotates, I put it in a cupboard and I don't open it again. And I only play with the new stuff. And
even if you go to like a golden event,
yes,
even if you
because golden includes everything.
Yes.
So that includes modern.
Yes, that's true.
And the reason I do that is because it's a lot to think about. 4,000 cards, right? To try and come up with combinations for them. So I try to stick with what's modern. And I think when you start bringing out older cards, like I think about legacy leagues. Okay, so I'm going to talk about our friends over in Ottawa that play in Nepean on Monday nights at Game Breakers, Cards and Collectibles. Shaw and Petrus and friends. They were running a legacy league. It started last year. I was in Ottawa for work and I brought a team to play. And they were all, I don't want to say canned teams, but like they brought out the teams that used to win and they didn't combine those teams with new cards.
Oh, just old school.
Just old school teams. There was modern teams too, right? But they didn't really have any twists to them. It wasn't like they were trying to integrate an older win condition with a newer card. And I'm not saying that didn't happen. It entirely could have, but the day that I was there, it didn't. And I know that when I look back at older stuff, I'm like, oh, I'm going to pull out my, common 1T that is unblockable when you use an action die. And then I'm going to bring out improvised weapon because it's a cheap action die and I can buy 3 of them on my first turn. And guess what? I've got an unblockable 1T with an improvised weapon. So I don't think about what else could have made that team better. I'm not saying other people don't. It's entirely possible that people are doing that. I'm just saying that I am not doing that today. Right?
Right.
So I could, with 4,000 plus cards, I believe that there are probably combinations or affinities of cards that we haven't built yet, right? That haven't been discovered. I remember talking to Jimmy from WizKids, Jimmy O'Brien, when Tomb of Annihilation came out.
That was going a while back.
Yeah, this was 2019 Worlds, I guess. Sidebar. A lot of things happened to me in 2019, but I was at the dentist today and I was filling out like my medical history form, and they're like, "When did this happen?" I was like, "Oh, 2019." When did this happen? 2019. I'm like, "Wow, 2019 was kind of a crazy year for me." Anyway, sidebar. So I was talking to Jimmy at Worlds in 2019, and he was talking about how surprised he was that Birdsong
Okay. Yeah.
was not particularly
Popular.
because apparently it was like almost an exact reprint of Bard. The Bard from...
You talking about Songbird?
No. Birdsong.
There's no such thing as
Birdsong. Yes, I'm looking at it right now. Birdsong.
Right. Oh, Birdsong. All right, yeah.
Birdsong. And it was almost a direct reprint of the Bard from whatever D&D set had existed before that like completely overtook the meta.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Bard did what?
I don't know. I'm looking it up. I didn't play then.
I
don't even think I own
knew
it.
of Bard, but
half elf Bard.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it's this one.
Yeah.
Half elf Bard, Master Lord's Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
It has experience. When half elf Bard attacks, each attacking character die gets +1 attack and +1 defense for each of your other different character dice. Okay, it's a 4-cost shield. So, +1 attack and +1 defense for each of your other different character dice. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Not including half Bard. Or
half elf Bard, yes. So then Birdsong reads... when Birdsong attacks, character dice you control get +1A and +2D until end of turn. I guess it's not the same thing.
No, because then that's every character you have in the field zone gets +1, +2D.
Yeah, so they fixed it. But anyway, he was saying that it was a similar effect and he was surprised it was not as popular. But I think it was just not as overpowered. So... Anyway, to the point, not a straight reprint, and apparently I don't know what I'm talking about. So going back to our topic of the day, there are lots of combinations, and I don't know that all of those combinations have been exhausted.
No.
So I think there is definitely lots of room still to be creative with themes, with building new combinations. The game is not solved. There are still things to do in the game.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't... I don't think I've ever seen it. Like, they just stick to the old school. This is the team that works. But they don't think...
the team I know.
Yeah, how do I make it better by using cards that have... Like, the modern cards. Okay, well, let's call it modern cards. How can I make it better by using... more cards? And that's when you start to figure out different things. You might come up with a totally different combo or anything like that. So people don't I know they don't do that.
Yeah, I think about the Ministry of Dice, our good friends Chris and Andy over there in the UK. And they love playing single affiliation, right? It's one of their favorite things to do. But every time they have a single affiliation event, do you know what Andy pulls out? He pulls out his S.H.I.E.L.D. team. His Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. team. With like Nick Fury and Black Widow and...
Any new ones of that, did they?
I think there's a few. But I mean, there's still, to the same point, you know, he's basically playing the same team over and over again. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, Andy, if you're listening, I don't think you are because I don't think you listen to podcasts. But if you are listening, or anyone else, who's listening can tell Andy. I'm not trying to throw shade at Andy here. Like, it's fun to play the cards you like. I
Right.
totally
Yeah.
get it. And as people, we don't like change.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And there's a difference between new and change. Right? So
Yeah.
when new product comes out, you're not necessarily changing the game. You're just bringing something new and injecting something new into the game, which makes it exciting. But if you change the game, new rule set, change the way it worked, different life totals, different card totals, things like that, I can guarantee you that people would get a little bit irritated if the game changed because they made a change to the rules versus something new coming in. So people like to play what they're familiar with. People like to play what they like. People have different play styles. So, I like playing with direct damage. It's one of the things that I like to do. I don't often build teams that are unblockable teams or overcrushing teams. Not to say I haven't, but I like things like Super Rare Thor that says when Thor is active and you feel a character die, you deal your opponent or a character die 2 damage. I know you don't like that, Kim. It's not your thing. But I like that. I think it's fun, and I like to find different ways to field characters and do that.
Yeah.
So there's different play styles. So there's, getting out of your comfort zone and finding different play styles. There's finding different combinations of cards. How can you make this work? Can you make that work? There's lots of there's building different themes, whether it's single affiliation or dual affiliation or I don't know, diversity or only 4 costs or whatever, right? There's so many different variations of how you can play this game that I almost feel like people get decision fatigue, like myself, because that's what happens to me. I get decision fatigue, hence I'm only going to play with modern cards.
What the heck is decision fatigue?
Decision fatigue is I'm sick of making decisions. I can't make decisions. It's almost like it could be like a paralysis.
That's interesting.
Right? So one of the reasons I only play with modern stuff is because I can't make any more decisions. So decision fatigue has an official definition from the American Medical Association. It's the idea that after making many decisions, your ability to make more and more decisions over the course of the day becomes worse. The more decisions you have to make, the more fatigue you develop and the more difficult it can become.
Isn't that like your job?
To make decisions? I make lots of decisions at work.
Yeah.
Everyone makes lots of decisions. But it's just, it's how you perceive it, right? And it becomes very overwhelming to me when I have to sort of look at all of these different things, and I just, I go back to what I know and what I'm comfortable with. So,
but don't you get bored of it?
So,
if you go to the same team and always going to the same team, not only you, I'm just saying in general, right?
Sure.
Wouldn't you get bored of it?
So personally, I can only speak for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I do get bored of playing the same team over and over again, which is why I look for other teams to play.
Right. Yep.
But I still stick to the card pool I'm comfortable with because there's too many choices.
Okay.
So what I'm suggesting is that people like myself have to expand our view of the game, and either that is mixing modern cards with older cards, or if we look at the unofficial ages of Dice Masters, because officially we have modern and golden.
Yes.
Right. And the current version of modern, because nothing's been said otherwise, is Avengers Infinity Gauntlet forward. Right. So we've got Infinity Gauntlet, Dark Phoenix Saga, Superman Kryptonite Crisis, Secret Wars. That's it. Everything else is golden. Then we have the community's definition of Silver Age, which is starting at Green Arrow and the Flash. And then there's another version where they call it Strictly Silver. This is something that the Dice Fight uses.
Okay.
And Strictly Silver means you can't use modern cards. So it would be Green Arrow and the Flash up until whatever the last set was before Infinity Gauntlet. WWE, maybe?
Was it an X-Men one? I don't remember.
X-Men Forever, Justice, campaign box, that kind of stuff.
Probably.
So basically, currently the definition of strictly silver in the community would be Green Arrow and the Flash to the campaign boxes.
Yep.
So you could look at it in that way, right? You've got Golden Age, which would be you could define that as everything, or you could have Golden Age, which is Avengers versus X-Men up until whatever came out before Green Arrow and the Flash. Then you have Silver, which is Green Arrow and the Flash forward, and then you can strictly Silver ends at the campaign boxes, and then Modern is the draft packy stuff, right? So there's different ways you could do that. So you could define ages. You don't have to use those ages if you're building a theme for people to play. You could pick, just single set, right? Single affiliation, single energy type, single energy cost. Like there's so many different variations that you could come up with, and I know there's a bunch of them listed, I think, on dm-north.com of different formats and theme ideas and suggestions. And I'm sure that there are combos that haven't been discovered yet, and people just have stopped looking because there's always something new that is coming out.
Yeah.
So no one looks back. We only look forward. So for me, to continue playing Dice Masters, if there was no more product, I would be dependent on themes, right? Themes to continue playing, as well as trying to get out of my own head and starting to look at some of the older stuff, and not just the stuff that I'm familiar with, but some of the stuff maybe that I haven't tried.
Dust it off.
That's right. So that's one way that the Dice Masters game can continue. And I mean, have you ever heard of Monopoly, Kim?
Yes. That'll be a board game.
Well, it's a board game, but has it changed?
Well, how to play it? No.
Exactly.
Themes? Yes.
Sure, themes. But at its core, Monopoly is Monopoly, right? Monopoly is a multiplayer economics themed board game.
Okay.
So it was first published in 1935.
Wow.
So
That's
that game
way back
is almost 100 years old.
Wow.
And people still play that game. Now, in fairness, they can buy that game at the store.
Yeah, but it's not like they're have expansions for it.
Exactly. So this is what I'm saying. Just because Dice Masters was a collectible game, doesn't mean it can't still be played even if new product isn't coming out, because Monopoly is not really releasing new product. Nope. The game is basically the same as it ever was.
Yeah.
Right? They haven't even inflated the prices because real estate's expensive now. So it's doable, right? We can still play.
Yeah, you can still play.
What do you think?
There's so many, and as we said, we have so much content creators out there that would keep it going by playing in tournaments, events, weekly events that still happen, things like that, right? Try to keep it fresh, I would say, by promoting themes and coming up with those ideas. So you do dust off those older cards and do try to come up with different combos and things like that. And try to get out of your comfort zone, pretty much. Change is good,
Change is good, but it is difficult, and people don't like it.
Yes.
That's a generality.
Yeah.
However, point of view is there is still lots of things we can play with in Dice Masters. If no product continues to come out.
Yep. And we can create our own if we, really wanted to.
And that's the second point. So talk to me about creating your own product in previous fan main sets, Kim.
So, I mean, DM North has a tool that allows us to create cards. So you can definitely go and create your own cards, use your own artwork, use past dice images, whatever you like. And even if you're smart, because I'm not, can come up with your own abilities for these cards as well. Build a set that never got released. Maybe Care Bears, Super Mario,
My Little Pony.
Yeah, Yep, because there's so many things out there that you can just theme, right? Or make a set out
100%.
of. And you know what? I've never tried it, but I would, even though I say I can't really write abilities that much. But you could probably like take an ability that you really like that and use it, change it, spin it a little differently, and then boom, you have a card, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think creating a game like Dice Masters is easy,
No.
right? There are a lot of variables to take into play, such as purchase cost and abilities
Mm-hmm.
and all that sort of stuff. But it's 100% that something that could be done. I mean, was it last year, Kim, that somebody ran what was called the Makers Tournament?
Yep. Yep. Jay.
Yeah, how did that work? Do you remember?
Yeah. So
You had to design a card,
you
right?
designed a card, and then you kind of pick one of the design cards, and I believe you build a team around it, something
Right.
like that.
So you designed one card and then you
Mhm.
built a team of existing cards around it.
Yeah, yeah. I think you didn't have to really design. Like you can just, if you wanted to, you could put it in, and then I think there was a voting thing, and then you build a team around one of them and stuff like that, and then go from there. So.
Yeah, so there's things like that. There was a fan made Firefly set that apparently exists. There was,
Hmm.
Transformers sets. There was all kinds of stuff.
Dragon Ball, I think,
So,
is up there.
yeah, so you can find this stuff online that already exists using dice molds that already exist. Um, and then you could also to make your own, and you could figure out, oh, this is way too overpowered, or
Hmm.
this doesn't have enough power and I need to change this. Like there's different ways you could do that. So there is the whole element of that. And I think there's other games. I want to say Star Wars Destiny, possibly, because it's dead,
Something
right?
like that. That fan made stuff now, I think.
Yeah, Star Wars Destiny fan made game. Here, let's see. Um, yeah, so there's some fan made stuff about Star Wars Destiny for players that wanted to keep playing Destiny even when Fantasy Flight Games officially shuttered the game and said that's it, we're done. Fans continued to build cards and continue to play. So that's something that we as Dice Masters players and community could continue to do if we ever got the word that that
Hmm.
Dice Masters is officially not going to release any more product.
Yep.
So I think there are ways to keep the game going, and just like Monopoly, which has been around since 1935,
I can't believe that.
we could still. Apparently, it was based on a game that was built in 1903, so even
Could you
longer.
imagine you had an original Monopoly? How much money that would be? Like worth?
It would be falling apart.
No, well, I don't know. I don't know how it looks on 1935 when it came out. Maybe I'll have to look at a picture. Um, but who knows? Maybe you had it in. Yeah, it could be falling apart.
Yeah. So basically, I think the idea here is if Dice Masters didn't release more product, we could still play the game.
Yep.
Um, would we choose to?
I think that would depend on now, like the type of. I'm gonna say the type of player you are. Like, okay, so if you're a player that all you want is new, right? That's you get
Right.
new products, you roll through. Okay, you're done with it. All right, I've killed it. Whatever. I've made teams. Okay, give me the next new product. If you're somebody like that, you're not gonna come back to the game because that's what drives you, right? But it also goes back to: are you willing to change
Mm-hmm.
to give it a go and then try to come up with different combos and start mixing other cards and things like that. I think a percentage of people are like that, and that percentage of people may not return to the game if no new products. But I think a bigger percentage of people will stay. The community is big enough that I think we can combine by doing either fan made or, as you said, mix things. Take a combo that you really like and change it.
Mm-hmm.
Make it better. You might find something else. You know what I mean? Use an
Yeah.
affiliation you've never used before. You know what like things like that. And then you might discover cards that way.
Totally. 100% totally doable. And there's lots of different ways you could do that through themes
Hmm.
and whatever. You could even say, okay, everyone's going to build around this random card,
Yeah.
and you have to make this random card like the center of your build, and you might get 8 different builds.
Hmm.
So
Because again, everybody can interpret a card differently, and how my team could be completely different to yours because you just thought of something different with that card.
that's right. So so yeah, so there's ways for the game to survive,
Hmm.
even if new product doesn't come out. The biggest challenge would be getting product for new players.
Yep.
That would be the first one. And then I think the second one would, well, maybe the first one would be creating awareness of the game if the game's no longer being played,
Yeah.
right? If it's not available. So creating awareness, getting product to new players, those are kind of the hurdles that we would have to overcome. But for the established folks that play the game and love it, there's lots of ways that they could continue to do so.
Hmm. Yeah, because going back
Um,
and getting like AVX might be really tough
yeah.
for people, right?
And then listener Darren has talked in the past, and I have not researched this very well, but he talked about making a cube to play Dice Masters with. Is I think it's a way of playing collectible card games, and we've heard that term before. So
Hmm.
there's ways to do whatever that is. And
Maybe someone
apologies,
could
Darren. I
educate
think
us.
you sent us something, and I read it at the time, but I don't remember right now.
Yeah, I've heard of the
Um,
cube. I don't know if I really understand what the cube is myself, so maybe
yeah.
someone could educate us.
There's also like, randomly shuffling cards together and dealing some off the top to make a team.
Hmm.
There's, building your own draft packs,
Yep.
right? You can use the draft pack generator. I don't know if the draft pack generator is working on Roll and Thunder, I think. It's in
Really?
beta, maybe?
I think it's I think it's in beta, because if you go to their site, the site right now, the team builder site, it's not linked to there.
There's
So I don't
no,
know.
but if you go to rollandthunder.xyz,
Mm-hmm.
there is a draft pack generator link.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
maybe it is in the go right now, but
Yeah, so they're
let's
working on
see.
it.
Yeah.
But that's an
Oh
online
yeah, it's working. Yeah.
draft pack generation where you can build draft packs either for playing online against other people. Obviously the cards and dice are not online, but you could gather the cards and dice you drafted. Or you could use something like that to generate draft packs that you just keep in your, on your game shelf, and you feel like playing a 2-player head-to-head game. Oh, let's play around a Dice Masters. Let's pull out a couple draft packs and just build teams out of those draft packs.
Yeah, and you're gonna again come across a card that you probably never even noticed or didn't even think about.
Mm-hmm.
Might like it, and then try to think of other teams to try to. I mean, sorry, other cards to build around it. So
Yeah. I think that I talked about this a while back on one of the episodes, but a couple of the folks that used to be part of Double Burst podcast,
mhm.
Russ the KO King, etc., they still play
Yeah,
Dice Masters, just not, competitively. Not that anyone's doing that right now because there's no events announced. But they dropped out of the competitive scene before now. But they still like the game, so they picked up a display of Dice Masters, the last set, and they drafted it together as a group and played, and then whatever was left in their hand at the end of their draft, that
Mhm.
went back into the box. And now you've got 8 new draft packs, because each draft pack is slightly different than it was originally, because people have drafted different cards, right?
right.
So it keeps that same set of stuff going. Different people can play, really easy to pull out. Everyone grabs a card, you move on with your game, and it keeps it interesting. And to your point, you might find something you haven't played with before.
Yep. Can't always be orbital strike. Actually, it can always be
Hashtag.
orbital strike, except you're using different cards. So
There
that's
you
one
go.
thing that I try to do, is just try to use different cards than always using the same ones. So
So that's I think that's all we maybe have to say about that.
mhm.
Is that right, Kim?
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything else, but I'm sure our listeners might.
Yeah. So if our listeners do think of anything else that they would like to add to this conversation, what if Dice Masters didn't release any more products? First off, how would you feel about that? Let us know. We want to hear. Um, would you continue playing? How would you continue playing? How would you continue to get new players into the game? Any ideas on that? Is the fact that product's not going to be releasing a deal breaker, that you're not going to be able to get new people to play? We want to hear all your thoughts on what it would be like if Dice Masters no longer released any product. And as a clarification point, I know I said it at the beginning, but I'm going to say it again. We have no inside knowledge. WizKids has not called Jocelyn and Kim and said, hey, guys, by the way, we're not releasing any more product. This is a what if scenario. We're just supposing
Playing it out.
what could happen.
Yeah.
And I am on record in the past, and I will be on record right now. I don't think Dice Masters is going to be abandoned after creating a comprehensive rule book and routinely answering rules questions.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But all signs point to the fact, in my mind, that they're trying to figure out what to do next with Dice Masters.
I mean, if 10 years is coming up, that's a perfect gateway, if you ask me, to do something big. Yeah, and maybe that's what it is. It's something big that just takes time. Who knows?
Entirely possible. And I guess we'll see. I mean, WizKids has made it known that they're going to be at more and different conventions this year for HeroClix. They are also, of course, still promoting their Onslaught game, and there's a new Star Trek game coming down the pipeline. But speaking of Star Trek, Star Trek Attack Wing was essentially dead, yet they are still releasing faction packs and other products. So, it could come back around.
Yeah.
Maybe they just need some time to retool. Maybe the redesign of the cards wasn't all they needed. I would agree that was not all they needed. They need to solve the supply issues. They need to solve the store issues. They need to get people in stores playing and demoing the game. They need to get people trying it out. They need to have access to product. But that's not what we're here to solve. That's WizKids' challenge. We're here just to talk about, what if there wasn't any more product, and what would Dice Masters look like if that was the case? And I think that the future is still relatively bright.
The candle still burns.
The candle in the wind?
I don't know where that came from.
Okay.
There's still a flicker of hope.
Do we have anything else, Kim?
On this topic? No.
Anything else on this podcast?
Yeah, upcoming events. It's been slow, but I'm still, doing weekly Dice Arena every second and fourth Tuesdays. Again, have the themes up there. Now's your chance to just play around with different things if you like. And Jocelyn may have spoiled something during this podcast. Let's see if you even heard, but something is coming. And that's it.
All right. So on that note, we would love to hear from you about any or all of the topics we've talked about today and what your thoughts are. So you can reach out to us in all the usual places, which includes sending us an email at dpodcast@dm-north.com. You can find us on all the socials, which includes X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, at dmNorthTV. You can find us on our website, which is dm-north.com. You can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/dmNorthTV, and on Twitch, twitch.tv/dmNorthTV. So until next time, on a double and dice.